The greater fool theory is a concept in economics that suggests that asset prices are determined by the expectation that there will always be a greater fool to buy at a higher price. In simpler terms, people buy assets like stocks, real estate, or art with the expectation that they can sell them to someone else for a higher price in the future, without actually understanding the underlying value of the asset. Here's an example. Example 1. Stock market. Imagine you buy a stock for $100, thinking it will double in value to $200 in a year. You don't know why the company will grow or what makes it valuable, but you're convinced that someone else will come along and buy it for $200, then sell it for $400. You're buying the stock as a greater fool. You're relying on the expectation that someone else will be the greater fool, who will pay an even higher price. Example 2. Real estate. Suppose you buy a house in a trendy neighborhood for $500,000, thinking that it will appreciate in value as more people want to live there. You don't care why the neighborhood is becoming popular, you're only concerned that someone else will come along and pay $1 million for it. You're betting that there will always be a buyer willing to pay a higher price, so you can sell it for a profit. Example 3. Art. Imagine buying a painting for $100,000, thinking it will sell for $200,000 in a year. You don't know what makes the painting valuable, you're buying it as a greater fool, hoping to sell it to someone else who will be even more optimistic about its value. The greater fool theory can lead to asset bubbles, where prices become detached from their fundamental value. When the theory is not supported by underlying economic fundamentals, it can eventually lead to a collapse, as prices become unsustainable and the greater fool runs out of buyers. Does this explanation help clarify the concept? A classic quote by John F. Kennedy. This quote suggests that despite the importance of learning from the past, people often fail to do so, instead repeating the same mistakes or failing to apply the lessons of history to future situations. This concept is often referred to as the tragedy of the commons, or the lessons of history are unlearned. In the context of economics, the greater fool theory can be related to this idea. The greater fool theory is a concept in economics that suggests that the value of an asset or investment is driven by speculation and the willingness of people to buy it, rather than its fundamental value. This theory is often used to explain why people invest in assets that may not be particularly valuable, as long as they can sell them to someone else for a profit. For example, consider a real estate market where prices are inflated due to speculation. People buy houses with the expectation that they will sell them for a higher price later, without considering the fundamental value of the property. This is an application of the greater fool theory, where the value of the house is driven by the expectation of selling it to a greater fool, rather than its actual value. In this scenario, the lesson of history, i.e., the dangers of speculation and inflation, is not being learned, and the market is driven by the actions of individuals seeking to make a quick profit, rather than by fundamental economic principles. Does this clarify the concept?